you can use in 3v3 Battle Stadium in the ranked ladder. You can also see in the description, I'll provide a link to this, where this is the top Pokemon used in 3v3 on Showdown at least. This is on Pokemon Showdown. For people that don't know Pokemon Showdown or are newer to, I guess, competitive Pokemon, they probably don't know about Pokemon Showdown. So basically just a battle simulator. You can battle other people, and there's a team builder. You can put any Pokemon there and look at all the movesets and items and all that. Pretty easy to do once you get into it. And yeah, just don't get addicted to it, because I got addicted to it. So yeah, Mimikyu is first one on there. So I'll be going through just like the most used Pokemon and their sets, so that you can get a grasp on what they usually run, but there's probably some unconventional sets that you could run into as well, especially on the lower ladder too, or even on the higher ladder. So first off is the most standard set Mimikyu. It's Life Orb, Swords Dance, Play Rough, Shadow Claw, and Shadow Sneak. Max attack, max speed, Jolly Nature. You can run Adamant if you want, which is plus attack and still minus special attack. It's just not plus speed, because I like Jolly Nature, so you can speed tie with other Mimikyus. You can outspeed Excadrill as well, which is nice. And yeah, Mimikyu is probably one of the best Pokemon to run in 3v3 Battle Stadium. I mean, just look at how many people use it. 66% usage. And yeah, I mean, the stats don't lie. It's really, really good. Has that Disguise ability. Even when they nerfed Disguise in Gen 8, when you break Mimikyu's Disguise, you take a little bit of damage. I think it's like 1/10 of your HP. I heard that somewhere. And it's a little unfortunate because people like to run Focus Sash on Mimikyu. They used to, at least. Now it's pretty non-existent. But maybe that nerf was needed, because Mimikyu is still really, really good. And it's pretty reasonable too, because it has a good speed tier, good coverage, Play Rough, Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, nice priority, hits Dragapult, and can Shadow Sneak other Mimikyus as well. Shadow Claw has a high crit chance, and I love it, because usually you are going to get the critical hits with Shadow Claw. Play Rough can miss sometimes. A lot of people do miss. 90% accuracy happens a lot when you miss, because sometimes you feel like 90% accuracy is a damn lie. Swords Dance to boost up your attack by +2. Life Orb for that extra power, because Mimikyu isn't the strongest Pokemon as well. And yeah, you could also run Woodhammer as well. I've seen Woodhammer for like Quagsire Unaware. And I guess to Bob Gastrodon as well, if you struggle versus stall, because Quagsire Unaware could be a little annoying for Mimikyu, because Mimikyu can't really break through an Unaware Mon, because Unaware, the ability, it ignores stat boosts for the opposing Pokemon. So like you can go to +6 attack, Quagsire is still going to take Play Rough for nothing, and it's going to take nothing, because it's basically like your +0. So yeah, Mimikyu is just awesome. It could even beat Togekiss. Togekiss is a pretty prominent threat in 3v3. What you can do is just max guard on the Togekiss, because usually they Dynamax and try to max your stream on your Mimikyu. You can max guard, then go for max Phantasm, lower its defense, and try and stall out as much Dynamax as possible, and then go for a max guard again after going for max Phantasm, not Phantasm. And yeah, it's gonna be able to beat Togekiss, because as long as it's not +2 special attack, you should be able to live a hit when you're not Dynamaxed. And after, you know, it went for a max Airstream, you should be good to knock it out with like max Phantasm or a Shadow Claw or Shadow Sneak afterwards. So it's pretty good. I like it a lot. Another unconventional set for Mimikyu is going to be a Mental Herb set with Curse, Pain Split, Substitute, and Taunt I've seen. This set could get shut down by Taunt, so that's why Mental Herb is there. This set could be annoying. I've seen Thunder Wave as well on Mimikyu. I've seen Will-O-Wisp on Mimikyu as well. You can run that for a nice troll set. And as Mimikyu can bait a lot of Corviknights in. Corviknight really likes to switch in on Mimikyu. You can shut down a lot of the physical attackers as well. Mimikyu's pretty good versus Tyranitar as well. You can just look at the thing over here and see what Mimikyu's good versus. It's good versus other Mimikyus, Dragapult. Corviknight can take it on, but potentially if it's Corviknight's weakened, you can just Dynamax and probably break through it. Excadrill could have Mold Breaker and just one-shot you with Iron Head, but if you're faster, as long as it's not Choice Scarf or Focus Sash, you should be good if you're at like +2. Hydreigon has to have Flash Cannon to do some type of damage, and if you have Disguise, I mean, Play Rough destroys it. Gyarados, you can probably Dynamax, lowers defense. I mean, Max Airstream is going to do a lot, especially if it comes in and intimidates you and lowers your attacks. That could suck. Ferrothorn are usually defensive, so you probably won't be able to break through a Ferrothorn with Mimikyu because they can just Leech Seed you and protect. They could even Dynamax, Max Steel Spike, all that. Rotom Heat can Will-O-Wisp you. T-Tar can get Max Starfall, just really nice. Grimmsnarl can get Max Starfall or Play Roughed. Grimmsnarl, the worst they can do is like Thunder Wave you. Rotom Wash can Wisp you. But you can still do a lot of damage, and also a good thing about Mimikyu is he can get the Mist Train up as well with Play Rough when you max Starfall. That's a really good thing. So say like a Yawn comes on your Mimikyu, you can just Dynamax, max Starfall, and then get the Misty Train up, and then you don't fall asleep. And yeah, max Phantasm lowers defense, so it's pretty useful. So next up is Grimmsnarl. We got Light Clay for extra turns on Reflect and Light Screen. Light Clay is good for Reflect, Light Screen, Aura Veil, lasting 8 turns. And yeah, it has Prankster ability, so you can get that up nice and priority, nice and fast. Gotta watch out for Dark types though, since Dark types are immune to Prankster. A lot of people forget about that. And on Grimmsnarl, you can run a multitude of things. I've seen Thunder Wave Taunt on this. I've seen just Foul Play Spirit Break. I've seen Sucker Punch. Yeah, it really just depends on what you want to run in 3v3. Me personally, I'd probably run like Thunder Wave and like Spirit Break. That seems pretty good. With max HP, max defense is really good on Grimmsnarl, so you can take your physical hits a lot better. You could take on Dragapults pretty nicely. Dragapult could run Steel Wing, so you gotta be careful of that. But max HP, max defense is preferable, especially because Excadrill is everywhere, Mimikyu is everywhere. You're weak to Steel and Fairy, so gotta be careful of that. There's another good set for Grimmsnarl is Leftovers, and we'll substitute Thunder Wave. It's kind of an annoying set. You can Thunder Wave someone and fish for Parahacks and to keep subbing on them. And just an offensive set. You can run more defense if you want to. Like, you don't have to run max attack. You can run like Spadef on here. You can run defense on here if you want to. Just it depends on your team. If you're more weak to physical attackers or special attackers, but you could also run bulk up on this as well. I put bulk up right here. We'll substitute. You can probably take off Thunder Wave if you want to for like another extra attacking move, or you could put just bulk up right there as well. With Leftovers, it's pretty good. You could also run like a berry for a pinch berry instead of Leftovers if you need Leftovers on another mon, because that's what pinch berries are really good for. And also if you don't want your opponent to see what item you're running as well. So last mon over here, we got Conkeldurr. We got just in a Soul Vest set with Iron Fist boosting punch moves by 20%. Drain Punch, Ice Punch, Mach Punch, Thunder Punch, pretty good coverage. Mach Punch for priority, Thunder Punch for Gyarados and all that. Corviknights are pretty good. You can do some good damage with that. You can run offensive as well instead of Spadef. Spadef is just nice with that Soul Vest, so you can take special attackers a lot better. There's also a Guts Flame Orb set you can run. And it's not as bulky, but it's a lot more offensive. And it does a lot more damage as well. You can run Facade on there as well. I think, does learn knockoff still? No, it does not. That's unfortunate. But I don't know, does that have any dark moves? Does it get Brutal Swing? It's Brutal Swing. I guess you want a dark move right there, because dark moves are pretty nice. So you can hit ghost types. Payback is there too. But you can run probably just, maybe a punch move to hit those ghost types as well. And then maybe like max attack if you want to, for really good damage, especially in Trick Room, it could be good. So yeah, those are some sets for Mimikyu, Grimmsnarl, and Conkeldurr. There's a lot of sets for Dragapult. Dragapult, this is probably one of my favorite sets, is Will-O-Wisp, Substitute, Hex, and Dragon Pulse. Max special attack, max speed, timid nature, Leftovers. You can run a Pinch Berry on this as well, it's pretty nice. I ran a Pinch Berry on it. And I always like to run Infiltrator on Dragapult, so you can go through Substitute and Screens, just ignoring those. You could run Clear Body so that opposing Pokemon can't lower your stats, that's pretty nice as well. That's probably better on a physical attacking Dragapult, because physical attacking could get intimidated. Curse Body is a nice one too, but I think Infiltrator is probably the best on Dragapult, because there's a lot of screens and there's a lot of substitute you run into in 3v3. And this set is really good because you can sub on versus like Toxapex, or you could scout and see what your opponent wants to do with the substitutes. You can Will-O-Wisp physical attackers like Mimikyu, Tyranitar, and really do a number on their team, especially versus Excadrill. You can Wisp them and do good damage with Hex. Just shutting them down. You gotta be careful, I guess, of a special attacking T-Tar or just Lumberry. But I don't really run into Lumberry too much versus Pokemon. So, yeah. Hex powers up when you get a status on a Pokemon. The power doubles, so it's really good damage. especially versus Toxapex. Toxapex like to run like max HP, max defense a lot now because of Galarian Darmanitan, Mimikyu, all that jazz. So a lot of physical attackers. So that's why more Pokemon that I guess in Gen 7 they used to run max Spadef run more of a max defense sets like Ferrothorn and Toxapex, because there's a lot more physical attackers that do a lot of damage, and also the special defensive walls do a pretty good job at just walling special attackers like Sylveon and Umbreon anyways. So that's why you don't really see too much Toxapex or Ferrothorn especially defensive. But yeah, anyways, you can Wisp and sub Toxapex. A lot of stall teams struggle with this, and even offensive as well. Really annoying set to deal with. Dragapult's on there for good PP, because if you run Draco Meteor, you have a low PP and also your lower special attack, and you might be more inclined to switch out, because then, even though you lose out on like KOing other Dragon types, you could just Dynamax and Dragapult them, honestly. Just gotta be careful of Dynamaxing when you have Substitute, because when you Dynamax, you lose your Substitute. And a little fun fact of Dynamaxing, you can't Encore Dynamax, well at least when you're Encored already and then, you know, Dynamax. You can't Destiny Bond to Dynamax, you can't win a KO Dynamax Bond too, so that's pretty cool. Another set for Dragapult is Focus Sash. There's a lot of sets for Dragapult, so I might miss some, even with all 6 of these. Focus Sash is pretty good. You can Dragon Dance and boost up your Phantom Force power. Dragon Dart so you can Dynamax, do some good damage. Fire Blast for the Corviknights. Corviknight could easily take on Dragapult if it's like really defensive, or even Spadef as well, so you gotta be careful of Corviknights. And it's just good for other steel types like Ferrothorn as well, because Ferrothorn are like usually max defense as well, so it's gonna probably Leech Seed you and chew it up, and could even Dynamax on you as well, because when Corviknight and Ferrothorn Dynamax, they can just like max guard or max Steel Spike, or just you know, take hits for days. So yeah, Focus Sash you could also run like Steel Wing. I've seen U-Turn as well. It's just a nice set, good lead as well. To scout what your opponent wants to lead off with, because leads are really important in 3v3. Life Orb on Dragapult is pretty nice as well for that extra power. Have Haste Nature on these because of the Fire Blast for extra damage. You could just run Timid though, or Jolly. Just depends if you want to run a physical or special attacking Dragapult. But I like Hasty because Naive Nature could be good too, minus special defense. But if you Dynamax, you might be more weaker to like Hydreigon and stuff like that, because when you Dynamax, you can live a hit from Hydreigon. But if you're Naive Nature, you probably take too much damage, and you might go down to like a Draco Meteor or a Max Wormwind. So yeah, Life Orb is that extra power if you need that. Pretty nice set. Maybe late game you could do a lot of damage with that. If with Dynamax, also there's weakness policy as well. If you're versus like, you know, a Mimikyu or something that could do super effect damage like a Sylveon, you can Dynamax, live the hit, and do really good damage, because you get +2 attack, +2 special attack. You can run Fire Blast on there. You can run Flamethrower as well if you don't want to miss Fire Blast, but Fire Blast is that nice power, especially when you are Dynamaxed. And then there's Choice Specs. I like Choice Specs a lot, has good coverage. Thunderbolt is really nice for Gyarados and getting up electric terrain, especially for versus Corviknight too, and Yanmons in general, because electric terrain, when you're grounded, you can't get put to sleep. And it also powers up your electric moves, so it's really good to get that electric terrain up. You do lose out on Choice Specs though when you Dynamax, so you got to be wary of that. Choice items don't work when you're Dynamaxed, but they can also come back when you lose your Dynamax. And be careful what you lock yourself into when you Dynamax, because you're going to be locked into it after the Dynamax, so be wary of that. But Specs is a really nice set because it just does good damage. You're going to Flamethrower instead of Fire Blast because you don't need that extra power. Flamethrower does good damage with Choice Specs. And yeah, just Shadow Ball, Draco Meteor, good stat. And then there's also Choice Band. I've ran Choice Band before. Good damage with Dragon Darts, max attack, max speed, probably Jolly Nature. Steel Wing is nice for the steel types. Get that max Steel Spike, raise your defense by 1 as well. You got Fire Blast on there for the steel types like Ferrothorn and Corviknight, all that. So yeah, Dragapult is a really nice pick. I think it's the second most used. Yeah, Dragapult and Mimikyu, 2 Ghost types. So not bad. Ghost type, best typing. That's my favorite type too, so not too surprised. Also then there's Corviknight, number 3 on the list. Corviknight, one of the best mons to use, steel and flying typing. If you played Pokemon before, you know how good steel flying typing is. There's Celesteal and Skarmory. They've always been top tier Pokemon, and you know, Celesteal has only been in 1 generation, but Skarmory's been in a lot, and Skarmory's always been at the top with Stealth Rocks, Spikes. It's been a really good defensive mon. Corviknight can run a multitude of sets though. You can run Clareful Nature for the extra Spadef. You can run Impish Nature to really wall physical attackers like Gyarados and Mimikyu. It really just depends. The extra Spadef could help out a lot versus mystical fire mons like Hydreigon, Sylveon. You gotta just be careful of Max Flare though. Mirror Armor is preferred versus Pressure and Unnerve in 3v3, I'd say, because there's a lot of status lowering. But Pressure is good for stall if you want to go that route. You can like go for stall, taunt, and all that, and stall out other Corviknights. That's also a nice option as well. But me personally, I like Mirror Armor more versus Pressure, because usually I like to just try and break through a Corviknight and sweep, or late game kind of just wall a lot of Pokemon as well. But late game sweeping is really good too with Corviknight. It can do that a lot. But most of the time, if you run into other Corviknights, you would probably prefer Pressure. So it just pick your poison. Versus other Corviknights, Pressure is really good until you run into Taunt. But if you run into Taunt, then you hope that you have Taunt and you can outspeed their Corviknights. So that's why that speed right there on Corviknights is really crucial as well. And usually always max HP. You know, a little bit of Spadef for the special attackers and a little bit of defense for the physical attackers. You could go max out defense. That's what I used to run with Citrus Berry. This is the set that I used to run. With a little bit of speed, you can hopefully outspeed other Corviknights, because other Corviknights could run a little bit of speed to outspeed other Corviknights. You want to try and always outspeed Corviknight, so you can taunt them and shut them down. So Pressure is good on this set. You could also run a Mirror Armor. I ran Mirror Armor and I got to top 3 in 3v3 in the ladder. And yeah, Pressure is pretty good for just stalling out other Corviknights if you want to go that route. Iron Defense, really good for walling physical attackers. You just get that +2 immediately. Just hope you don't get critical hitted. Citrus Berry for that extra emergency HP is really good versus like Max Geyser Gyarados, Max Phantasm, Mimikyu. Brave Bird for that extra chip damage versus Dragapult and Hydreigon's good damage. You do take recoil though, so you could run Drill Peck as well. Just up to you. I like Brave Bird for that extra damage. There is also Maranga Berry, raises special defense when hit by a special attacking move. It's really good for sweeping. I like it a lot. Power Trip is really good with bulk up. Power Chip getting a +20 power for each stat boost you get. It goes well with Max Airstream and Maranga Berry. You get that plus Spadef. You can get the plus speed raise with, you know, Max Airstream, bulk up, raising your attack and defense. But then Power Trip is really going to do some good damage versus unaware mons, versus other Corviknights, versus a lot of things. And it has good synergy with Flying and Dark. Good coverage. Only thing you can't really hit is Tyranitar, but I mean, as long as it's not special attacking Tyranitar, you should be good. And even if it is, you could probably roost up. You could run like Careful Nature on this, more special defense if you want to. Me personally, I always like to run defense though, just to wall Gyarados, Mimikyu, take hits from them better, and just, you know, a lot of physical attackers, because there's a lot of those like Galarian Darmanitan as well. But there's also a lot of special attackers, so you could run a Careful Nature on this and really take on a lot of special attackers, because you get that plus Spadef as well. Especially when you Dynamax as well, you're gonna take a lot of hits. So be careful of that. Also Togekiss as well could be dangerous, but as long as you can maybe Dynamax take the hits, and as long as, you know, maybe you can max guard on their max flares and try and stall out their Dynamax, should be good. So yeah, there's also a leftover set with Pressure. This one's pretty good with Substitute, Bulk Up, Brave Bird, Roost. This is probably late game. Really good set. Just gotta be careful of Taunt, because this set can stop you from getting 1-hit KO'd by Excadrill, because Excadrill do like to run Horn Drill. Also there's like Guillotine and Bisharp as well, so you gotta be careful of that. This can I think avoid a Scald from Toxapex knocking out your sub. This can also avoid like Will-O-Wisp or Strength Sap from Galarian Corsola, but Taunt can do that as well. That's why I like Taunt as well, and it can also shut it down other Corviknight Taunts. So that's why I feel like Taunt could be a little bit better, but you do lose out on that way of not getting 1-hit KO'd by Excadrill. So Sub is also a notable thing to run. And then there's also offensive Corviknight, but that's like barely ever seen. But there is a set, like I've seen it sometimes, and it could catch people off guard. Like a really just max attack, Adamant, Sharp Beak, Brave Bird. You'd be surprised how much power that can do to your Pokemon. You're like, wow, that's a lot of power. Because Corviknight is not the best attack, but it could definitely catch you off guard with that Sharp Beak, Brave Bird, and a +1/2 with Bulk Up. And then a Max Airstream as well. So gotta be careful of that set as well. That's a notable thing to mention. So now we got Excadrill, a lot of sets for Excadrill, but usually they run the same like moves. Like Iron Head Earthquake is always ran on Excadrill. So we got probably the most common set is Focus Sash I've seen. Yeah, there's like Mold Breaker, you can run under Sand Rush. Me personally, I ran this set, and this set is really nice to come in on Togekiss and Charizard, because there's a lot of Togekiss Charizard offense, and as long as they don't have Stealth Rocks, you should be good to go. Or you can even take a hit when you Dynamax. Like, you could take a Max Flare from Togekiss. Not a Max Flare from Charizard, though, when rocks are up. But you can take a hit from Togekiss as long as it's at +2. But yeah, this set is really good because of Sand Rush. Sand Rush, you can get that Sand Stream with Max Rockfall and then Outspeed +2 Speed Togekiss, which is really, really useful, and then Max Steel Spike and knock it out. Swords Dance do extra damage versus a lot of more bulkier teams, and probably Breakthrough, Rock Slide for the flinches. Maybe you can flinch down Corviknight with +2, even though Corviknight are usually just going to take on Excadrill if you don't have Orange Drill. Earthquake and Iron Head, good coverage and stab. But you could also run Mold Breaker if you don't want that, and with Mold Breaker you could probably run like Brick Break for screens, or you can run Horn Drill as well for that 1 KO on bulkier mons like Gastrodon, Toxapex, if you don't want to Earthquake it, maybe if you get burnt. Corviknight mainly though for Horn Drill, and just other bulky mons you can't really break through. Even though that 30% chance to miss, everybody runs it, and it's actually pretty useful. I've had my fair share of getting one that KO'd a lot of if you watch my live streams, I run into Horn Drill every single time with Excadrill. So then there's also Soul Vest, which is a pretty nice set with Rock Tomb, Mold Breaker. Rock Tomb ignores Mirror Armor and other abilities, so you can Earthquake Levitating mons as well. Also, another thing to mention is when a Pokemon goes for Roost, crazy enough, there's a lot of people that still don't know, when you go for Roost, you're grounded, so you can hit by your ground type. Only for the turn you go for Roost, not the turn afterwards. So they have to go for the turn they go for Roost, and they have to be, you know, slower than them, because you can't go for Earthquake and then you're faster than them and then they go for Roost. You have to be slower than them. They have to go for Roost first on that turn and then Earthquake them. It's good for predicting. I always like to do predictions on that. But that's if you're slower. Excadrill is really fast, so it works on like a slower ground type. Like Gastrodon, I can Earth Power Corviknight with the Roost, stuff like that. And yeah, Rock Tomb is just nice to lower speed on Gyarados, Charizard, take hits from Charizard with Soul Vest. Can actually leave a hit when you Dynamax, so that's pretty cool. So not bad set. There's also Choice Scarf, not bad set, but you gotta be careful when you Dynamax, you lose Choice Scarf. But it could be notable to, you know, outspeed threats like Gyarados, Rock Tomb them, Charizard as well. As long as it's not +1 speed, you can outspeed it. And other Excadrill as well, you can outspeed with Choice Scarf. But most Excadrills are Sash, so you gotta be careful of that, or even Sand Rush with Sand, it outspeeds you still. Then there's also Life Orb for the extra chip damage that you need. You can run Adamant as well if you want to with Sand Rush. It does really good damage for breaking through. You can run Swords Dance on there as well. There's Air Balloon you can run on Excadrill. And then there's also a nice Spadef niche set I've seen with Substitute, Horn Drill. So you can sub on some Pokemon. Maybe like a Mimikyu, they want to switch out versus you. You can sub on that and then maybe get a Horn Drill off or two. Pretty nice for just taking hits from special attackers. Because Excadrill has really good HP, not the best Spadef, but when you have that much HP, you can take hits for days when you're max Spadef as well. So, pretty interesting set. I've seen it sometimes, and you know, probably not better than Folk Sash, but it's definitely notable as well. Like, I've seen people run it. So next up is Hydreigon, really awesome Pokemon to run. Good synergy, Levitate, Dark and Dragon typing. It's not higher than Dragapult though, but it could fit on a lot more teams with the Dark and Dragon typing, and it could definitely break through a lot better than Dragapult. But it's not as fast. But I like Choice Scarf on this because Choice Scarf can outspeed Dragapult and outspeed Excadrill Choice Scarf as well. Outspeed Galarian Darmanitan Choice Scarf. With Fire Blast you can KO it. Flash Cannon for the Fairy types. You gotta be careful though, because Sylveon easily takes on Flash Cannon and Max Steel Spike, because Sylveon is Spadef monster. Draco Meteor, good stab, and Dark Pulse, good stab. And Dark Pulse can also have that chance to flinch. When in doubt, flinch it out. And yeah, you can outspeed other Hydreigons, or you know, speed time with them. There's also this stall breaking set, Substitute Nasty Plot with leftovers. Dark Pulse and Flash Cannon, best coverage for it. Dark Pulse for flinches, and nice stab, and Flash Cannon for the fairies as well. Pretty good for breaking through Toxapex, Galarian, Corsola, Umbreon. When you sub, you can't get Yawn. Yawn doesn't go through sub, so that's really useful as well. And Nasty Plot, which is amazing on Hydreigon. They gave it in Gen 8 and other Pokemon as well, like Gengar. It's really useful to just break through stall. It's an awesome set. Then there's also Choice Specs for that immediate power. I don't really see that too much, but you can run it. You could also run Modest on this. You could also run Modest on Scarf too, but I like just max speed for that chance to, you know, speed tie other choice Scarf Hydreigons, or, you know, outspeeding Scarf Excadrill, all that jazz. And outspeeding Glaring and Darmanitan. But Specs could run Modest if you want to for the extra power. Really nice power Specs and Modest. Not a whole lot of switches to that, other than like Sylveon, Umbreon, all that. So yeah, and also be careful when you Dynamax, like I always say, you lose your choice item. And then there's also another notable set with a Soul Vest. I've seen a Soul Vest. U-turn is also a nice thing to mention. You can U-turn on Mimikyu, so you can always outspeed Mimikyu. And break their disguise with U-turn, which is also nice as well. So yeah, the Soul Vest is nice for those special attackers. Could catch people off guard, like maybe a special attacking Dragapult or Hydreigon. You can take the hit, chew it up when you're Dynamaxed as well, and just get off a nice heavy hit as well. Good for Duraludon as well, because Duraludon probably lives a hit from you, but then you could really live a hit with the Soul Vest. So yeah. Next up is Gyarados, one of the best monsters Dynamax, because it just live hits for days, has max Airstream, and also has Moxie. When you knock out a Pokemon, you raise your attack by 1, so really useful ability. Leftovers and Dragon Dance and Sub is really good with Waterfall Bounce. You can sub on a lot of bulky Pokemon, dodge out on Yawn as well, sub on Toxapex and Galarian Corsola. Also Taunt is really good on this set as well. I think one of these sets have Taunt, yeah. You can run Taunt instead of Substitute to shut down like other Taunt Mons or Will-O-Wisp, stuff like that. And Bulk Up or Iron Defense if another Pokemon trying to set up versus you. I like Taunt on the Gyarados as well. But Substitute is nice because then you can dodge out on like getting status from like Scald. So you could run like Lumberry on this as well. I think I had Lumberry on this one, yeah. I had 2 Waterfall on this. That's why I was getting confused. I need Taunt. Because I knew I put Taunt on one of these sets. For Lumberry, that could be useful. And then there's also Sharp Beak sets with Dragon Dance and Power Whip. Power Whip is good for like Seismitoad and Gastrodon and other water types like Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash, you gotta be careful though, because Rotom Wash could be defensive, so maybe you want to put Life Orb on this. Life Orb can maybe potentially 2-shot with Max Overgrowth. Because Rotom Wash could run max defense and then Dynamax and just KO you with Max Lightning, and you don't KO it back with Power Whip. So, gotta be careful, but when you're at +1 it can do a lot, and even Adamant Nature. But Jolly is probably the preferred nature, so you can speed out with other Gyarados and also outspeed Dragapult at +1 as well. So yeah, there's also Life Orb right here with 4 attacks. Earthquake is nice for Duraludon, because if you don't run Earthquake, then you don't really hit Duraludon for much damage, because Duraludon like to run electric moves like Thunderbolt or Thunder, so Duraludon could be a nice check to Gyarados if you don't have Earthquake on it. And Duraludon also has really good defense as well, so you gotta probably get it chipped before you can knock it out with Earthquake or Max Quake as well, or maybe if you're at +1 or +2, you could easily KO it, especially with Life Orb. And then, yeah, always run Moxie, I feel like. Intimidate's good too, though. Intimidate's more useful probably for doubles, though, I'd say, because you gotta be careful of the Defiance Mons like Braviary and Bisharp. Those could be on a team sometimes, and especially they could bring it versus Gyarados and get that attack raise. But I like Moxie a lot. But Intimidate's not bad too. Like, they're both really good abilities, but Moxie's probably just better for a sweeping set for Gyarados. And then there's also a Soul Vest as well, so maybe when you Dynamax you can take a Thunderbolt or Max Lightning, stuff like that. And then you have good coverage all around, and yeah, you can hit pretty much all of Gyarados' threats, like Rotom Wash, Power Whip, Duraludon, Earthquake, and maybe you can live a hit with the Soul Vest when you Dynamax, probably. That's just another set I've seen. Next up is Ferrothorn. You have max defense on Ferrothorn for Mimikyu. You can run it for just any physical attacker as well. There's a lot of Mimikyus. There's a lot of Galarian Darmanitans, but Galarian Darmanitan will do a lot with Flare Blitz. So maybe when you Dynamax, you can just like take the hit potentially and Max Steel Spike it. This is probably one of the standard sets. Leech Seed, Protect, Power Whip, and Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball, when you always have a negative speed nature on Ferrothorn, always, so you can have maximum power Gyro Ball. Power Whip is good for that nice, you know, grass typing. You can hit Gastrodon, you can hit Quagsire and Gyarados as well for good damage. And then Leech Seed Protect for that nice recovery with leftovers as well. And Iron Barbs for the extra chip on contact moves. You could also run Curse as well. Curse is pretty nice to maybe beat other Ferrothorns, because Ferrothorn can't really break through other Ferrothorns, but with Curse you potentially can with leftovers, because you can raise your defense a lot. And then with Bolt Seed you don't have that contact move as well. That could be good versus other Ferrothorns, and also it could be good versus Focus Sash Mons and Mimikyus as well. And also Bolt Seed never misses other than Power Whip, because I've missed my fair share of Power Whips, so Bolt Seed is also a notable mention you could run on Ferrothorn. And this is a nice set as well with, you could also run Sassy Nature for that extra Spadef. Just take his better from special attackers, maybe when he Dynamax, like a fire move from Dragapult, something like that. But you do lose out on Protect over here. But I guess you could always just max guard with Ferrothorn with, like, when you're leech seeded Pokemon, stuff like that. Curse could be really good for, you know, stall teams as well, but you gotta be careful like Haze from Toxapex. Then there's also Rocky Helmet, Stealth Rock as well. Stealth Rock is good on Ferrothorn if you want a Stealth Rocker. Stealth Rock, some people say it's not good, but I think it's really good in 3v3, especially for a lot of Focus Sashers. Excadrill Focus Sash, there's a lot of Focus Sashers in 3v3. So yeah, it's pretty good if you need that Stealth Rocks for maybe a sweeper in the back like Charizard or Togekiss, if you want to run that. And Rock Helmet is for that extra chip as well versus physical attackers. It could be good for Iron Barbs. And then, you know, nice little meme, Ferrothorn Choice Band, I like that. Don't really run into it ever. I think I've ran into it like maybe one time, but it could be catching people off guard with like Gyro Ball, a nice heavy hit, or Power Whip with Choice Band, or even Explosion as well. And yeah, this is just max Spadef set with Ferrothorn. If you want a Spadef Ferrothorn, this is like one of the standard sets they ran in Gen 7, but that's because like there's, you know, and Ash Kren and all that. There's not too many good special attackers, and if they are in Gen 8, they have fire coverage to hit Ferrothorn, or like dark coverage. But it's also nice to, you know, Leech Seed Protect and take on Hydreigon or Dragapult, and maybe a little fire move, but you probably won't. And then another best Pokemon to run is Rotom. Rotom has a lot of forms you can run. Probably the most set that you run into is Rotom Heat. I think Rotom Heat is higher than Rotom Wash on here. Yeah, Rotom Heat just kind of fits on a lot more teams better than Rotom Wash because of that Fire Electric typing. Fire Electric has really good coverage as well. Synergize as well with like Toxapex and Ferrothorn, but Rotom Wash does as well. The set is Choice Scarf, so you can outspeed Gyarados with max speed. You have Trick on there for crippling bulky mons like Quagsire and all that. Predicting switch-ins on Dragon types, you can trick them. Wisp for those physical attackers like Excadrill and Tyranitar. You can Wisp Excadrill for that good damage. Gotta be careful of, you know, getting Earthquake though. 4 times weak to ground, so be wary of that. But you can also maybe make a prediction and Wisp Tyranitar. Volt Switch for that momentum and Overheat for that, you know, nice coverage. And you gotta run Overheat for Rotom Heat because it's just nice and stab move. You can do good damage to it and max flare. Also, you can run Citrus Berry on this with like maybe max HP. I've seen. You can run like a Soul Vest I've seen with no Wisp or Trick, like probably Dark Pulse and Hex I've seen. Maybe if you have like Status Mon, you can run Hex because you can't run like Will Spith with a Soul Vest. And yeah, there's also a Choice Spec set with Rotom Wash, really good. I like Dark Pulse Choice Specs a lot because I've been flinched down with my Gastrodon before with the Dark Pulse Choice Specs. It actually does some good damage because the only thing that really can switch on a Rotom Wash is like Gastrodon. Nothing really else wants to switch in versus a Spec Rotom Wash. So it is a nice notable thing to run. Good coverage and good typing. Really only weak to Grass other than Mold Breaker Ground. Discharge for that chance to paralyze. Other than Thunderbolt, it's only 10 base power less, and 30% chance to paralyze is really, really useful. So definitely run Discharge over Thunderbolt, I think always. So you can get that chance to para. And Hydro Pump really rounds out the electric typing because you can hit those fire types really nicely. You could also run Shadow Ball on this as well. I've seen Shadow Ball. Or you can run Trick or Will-O-Wisp as well on Choice Specs. But I like Dark Pulse for that chance to flinch versus bulkier mons like Gastrodon. Rotom Mo is a really nice notable mention because it can also take on Gyarados because Gyarados can Power Whip Rotom Wash. It could also Water Move Rotom Heat, but this Rotom Wash can live Gyarados' max overgrowth I think 2 times. It can take 2 hits when you Dynamax. You gotta Dynamax on the Gyarados because with that defense and max HP EVs, you can KO it, and with the special attack and modest nature as well. That's the EVs for this Rotom. So it's pretty useful. You can even run more defense if you want to be extra sure for like maybe Life Orb Gyarados or something like that, or if it's like at +1. But also Rotom is really nice because it has the coverage to hit Gastrodon pretty nicely and Rhyperior. Rhyperior could be annoying, but I mean Rotom Wash can do that too. But it has the extra power of Leaf Storm, doing really good damage. You can run Will-O-Wisp as well for Excadrill. It could also be better for Excadrill because you're not super weak to Excadrill. You don't take super effective damage from it with the grass typing, so it's actually pretty nice with a Guava Berry or Citrus Berry. And yeah, we'll switch Discharge for those paras. You can run like maybe Dark Pulse on this as well, or Shadow Ball I've seen, or Hex. And yeah, Berry is really good on Rotom. I think Berry is probably the best for Rotom I've seen. And then there's also this annoying set I've seen on screens with Rotom Fan, because I've seen sub Nasty Plot. You could also run Nasty Plot on one of these guys as well, honestly. Nasty Plot's really, really good as well for breaking. But this set is dangerous because I've seen like a screens team with Nasty Plot, Rotom Fan, and they get the max air stream with Air Slash. And it just has really good coverage, flying and electric typing. And then Nasty Plot puts it over the edge as well. You can run a berry on this as well if you want to. I've seen like max speed, max special attack. You can run Modest on this as well. I've seen for extra power. Pretty nice, but max speed is good for outspeeding Gyarados, you know. So you can run max speed Timid and other Rotoms if they're max speed. And then there's also Citrus Berry set, pretty much the same set that I had for Specs, but Citrus could be ran as well. And then there's also Scarf Rotom Rotom Wash you can run as well. And I think that could be it for Rotom. Yeah, that's probably it for Rotom. I mean, I guess there's probably some other sets like a Soul Vest I've seen for any of the Rotoms. They could run the same sets, but it really just depends on your team. Probably Rotom Heat would be the best for 3v3 and or Rotom Wash. But it really just depends on your team and what you're weak to. Just fit the Rotoms. It's kind of like if you're weak to water types, you could have Rotom Wash or Rotom Metal. If you're weak to fire types, you can have Rotom Heat or Rotom Wash. But Rotom Wash is probably the best synergy mod, I'd say, at least. It's always been the best, in my opinion. Next up is T-Tar, Big Daddy T-Tar, or Big Mama T-Tar. Godzilla, God of Pokemon, weakness policy. You just live hits for days when you're Dynamaxed. It's almost impossible to KO T-Tar when it's Dynamaxed. And most of the time you're going to hit it with a super effective move, and you get that +2 attack, +2 special attack. Fire Blast is good for Corviknight and for Ferrothorn, because they're usually always going to be defensive, so you can do extra damage to that, catch them off guard with that physical and special split as well. That's why we have Brave Nature on there as well, so you can have the extra power special attack. And also, you can be slower than other T-Tars, and slower than maybe like Pelipper if you run into that, because Pelipper could run like a negative speed nature. So you want to run negative speed nature so that you can be slower than other T-Tars and activate the weakness policy first, instead of them activating the weakness policy, because then if you're slower, they activate your weakness policy first if they go for a super effective move versus you. Iron Head is really good for max Steel Spike. I like it a lot on Tyranitar versus like Mimikyus and other Tyranitars as well. But you could also run like, I've seen Superpower for that extra chip, since Tyranitar is 4 times weak to fighting, and also max Knuckle as well. So that's a nice notable mention. You could also run Earthquake as well. Earthquake is nice for Toxapex, Max Quake, raising your SpDef. T-Tar can run a lot, but I always think Crunch, Rock Blast, and Fire Blast are always needed on T-Tar, I'd say. Nice stab moves. Rock Blast is really good because Rock Blast is only 10% chance to miss, but you know, Pokemon, it's probably more than that. Well, I mean, in our heads it is. Rock Blast is really good for Focus Sash and Mimikyu, because Mimikyu, I mean, most of the time you probably won't stay in versus Mimikyu unless you're Dynamaxed, because you can get bopped by a Max Starfall if you're not. And, I mean, you're going to have Max Rockfall anyway, so it just depends if you want to Rock Blast a Mimikyu, maybe predict a Swords Dance. You can break their disguise, or maybe a Focus Sash mod. It's just really, really good to have, or you like subs to as well. You can Rock Blast that. So, you could also run just Stone Edge. There's also a Soul Vest T-Tar with Max SpDef. I like this set a lot because it can take on Togekiss pretty nicely. Just gotta be careful of activating Togekiss weakness policy. But when you Dynamax, you're gonna take hits for days. It's really, really nice SpDef mod. Versus Charizard as well. As long as you don't run into a physical Charizard with like Belly Drum, you should be good. But even if it is, when you Dynamax, you could easily take a hit because T-Tar is an absolute god when you Dynamax. There's also a leftover set I've seen, or Lumberry sets. You can run with Taunt. I've seen with Taunt, Dragonite, so you can shut down like Corviknight, Iron Defense, and other bulky mons. And you can just raise your attack. I've definitely swept with this set before in 3v3. Max attack, max speed, Jolly Nature. You can run Adam on there for extra power as well. Jolly is just good for that speed. Maybe top speed, like notable fast Pokemon. Try and outspeed Dragapult as fast as possible as well, because you don't want to get Wisped. And then, yeah, there's also special attacking Tyranitar I've seen as well. Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, Stone Edge, and Thunderbolt. You can run Ice Beam, I've seen. You can run, what else have I seen? I guess you can run like Superpower. I've seen Heavy Slam on this as well. There's a lot of things you can run on special attacking Tyranitar. The Thunderbolt's good for Gyarados though, and also hits Corviknight still pretty nicely. But Fire Blast can hit Corviknight better. Stone Edge for that. Nice physical attacking versus like Charizard, because you don't really want to run a special attacking rock move. And also, you always want to have like a rock move on T-Tar. Does T-Tar even learn like Power Gem? It doesn't. It learns Ancient Power though, so that's why we have Stone Edge. Or you can run Rock Blast on there. Dark Pulse is really good for a special attacking one because when you go for the Dark, you know, D-Max move, it lowers special defense, so it goes well with a special attacking Tyranitar. Quiet Nature on there because I feel like minus speed is really good for when you have, you know, physical and special attacking moves, so you don't have to lower your attack or special attack. You could also run like a lot of special defense on this one as well. Like T-Tar can run max SpDef or max defense, I've seen. It really just depends on your team. But all-out offense could be really good for just busting through mons and KOing them when you're at +2, you know. And weakness policy goes well with, you know, special and physical attacking moves because you raise your attack and special attack with T-Tar. So you could also run Chopaberry. I've seen Chopaberry is good for those physical moves. But honestly, you don't really need that when you Dynamax. You still take hits for days, even from fighting moves like close combat from H-Slash. You still live with Dynamax. So other notable bonds you can run is Toxapex max defense with Toxic Haze, Recover and Scald, Regenerator for nice switch out and you gain HP back. We already know about Toxapex. Black Sludge is there. Max defense for Galarian Darmanitan, Mimikyu, and all that. You can haze them if they want to raise their stats. Toxic is really good. You can run Baneful Bunker, I've seen as well. But I think Haze is probably the best you can run. Always run Haze, Scald, Recover, I feel like, and Toxic is probably the best set. Because you have the best of both worlds with everything. Toxic is always good. Just to never miss, because when you're a poison type, you never miss Toxic. So, just for people that don't know that. And yeah, Scald for nice burning and nice chip damage. Just really annoying Stallmon for Toxapex. If it's on like every single team, you could run. Choice Scarf Darmanitan, really nice breaker with Guerrilla Tactics. It's basically like a choice band. Icicle Crash, Flare Blitz, Earthquake, U-Turn, perfect coverage. Earthquake for Toxapex, Flare Blitz for Ferrothorn, Icicle Crash for everything else, and U-Turn for momentum. U-Turn on like Mimikyu, stuff like that. You could also, I've seen them run Rock Slide. I personally ran Rock Slide, but it was only for Monotype Ice team because people always bring their Fire types versus Monotype Ice, so it's really good bait. I can one-shot Charizard D-Max. I can do a lot of damage to Rotom Heat and all that because Rotom Heat is levitating, so you know, can't hit it with Earthquake. So that's why Rock Slide could be good in Max Rockfall as well. It can destroy it. So next up is Arcanine. You can run a Soul Vest on Arcanine. It's pretty good for 4 attacks. You could also run Wild Charge instead of Extreme Speed for hitting Gyarados and Toxapex better. Play Rough is really good. I like it a lot because you can get the Misty Train up, lower Dragon type moves as well. When you have Misty Train up, it's pretty nice because that's what Misty Train does. Weakens Dragon type moves. Close combat for T-Tar and Flare Blitz for that nice, you know, stat. Max Flare hits for good Fairy types. Soul Vest is really good to take on Fairy types as well, like Sylveon, Hyper Voice, and all that. So you can run like maybe more SpDef if you want to, maybe max HP if you want to be really bulky. But there is also a nice bulky Arcanine defensive set with Leftovers and Intimidate, with Snarl lowering special attack, Willis to cripple physical attackers, and then Flamethrower for good damage. Oh wait, why does it have minus special attack though? It needs to be Bold Nature, because you don't want minus special attack when you're a special attacker. And then Morning Sun for recovery. Gotta be careful of that PP though, because Morning Sun doesn't have the best PP. But this is a really nice set as well. You can run Crippling Tyranitar, Excadrill, Intimidating them, really useful. Flamethrower and Corviknights, really good damage to them. And yeah, you can run Expert Belt on this. I've seen Life Orb as well, but Life Orb you kind of like kill yourself with Flare Blitz with Recoil. So you could also run just Choice Band on this. Choice Band is really good for just immediate power. Just you gotta be careful what you lock yourself into. And when you're Dynamax, you can, you know, switch up moves. Then there's also that annoying Togekiss set. Togekiss is really good on screens. Togekiss with Weakness Policy, Natsplot, Air Slash, Dazzle Gleam, and Flamethrower. Pretty common set that everybody runs. I've seen like Grass Knot on this, I'm pretty sure. I think somebody has seen like Magical Leaf as well. Never misses as well. But Natsplot's probably the best because you can just break through special defensive mons and flinch them down. Dazzling Gleam gets you know, good type coverage and stab. Flamethrower is really good for those steel types, and yeah, when you Dynamax, you can just live hits for days. Get that max airstream, raise your speed, activate Weakness Policy when you're getting hit by a super effective move, and just sweep teams. It's one of the easiest sweepers you could run. Pretty brainless too, because you just put on a team and just kind of sweep a lot of teams. It's really good, but you gotta be careful, you know, when you want to Dynamax. It's just really opposite that, and you know, they probably get up Stealth Rocks as well for Focus Ashers too. So yeah, there's Umbreon, Max SpDef set. You can run defense on there if you want to. Defense is good to just take on physical attackers a lot better, but I think SpDef is probably the best, I'd say. Synchronize, preferred over Inner Focus for obvious reasons. Bounce Back, Burn, Poison, Paralyze. Leftovers for that nice recovery. Foul Play for physical attackers if they want to boost up. Yawn for that nice sleep, and Wish Protect. Really good for Umbreon's longevity. Also on Galarian Darmanitan, you can run Choice Band on this. Choice Band is really good for breaking through, but always run Jolly Nature, I think, instead of Adamant, because you don't really need Adamant with Galarian Darmanitan. It still does a lot of damage, even with Jolly Nature, because look at that base attack 140. So, and then on top of that, you have Guerrilla Tactics and Choice Band. So yeah, next up we got is going to be Focus Sash, H-Slash. H-Slash has a lot of sets. Me personally, this is the set that I like to run, Focus Sash, with Close Combat, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, and Swords Dance. Perfect coverage with Fighting and Ghost. Think of it like a Marshadow. Stance Chase is nice, but you don't really need it for Focus Sash Mon most of the time. Really good lead because it can take on T-Tar leads, Close Combat them. If they Dynamax, they get 2 KO'd. You have Focus Sash, so you always live a hit. You can outspeed them as well with max speed, as long as they're not max speed, I think. Because max speed T-Tar, if they're like running, you know, all the speed EVs and speed, they can outspeed you because I think T-Tar has 61 speed. So you got to be careful of that. But most of the time, T-Tar never run max speed, so yeah, you're good. Swords Dance is good for just breaking through like Corviknights and all that. Screen teams as well. I've actually swept a lot of teams with Swords Dance H-Slash, so really, really nice mon. You get 140 base attack. They kind of nerfed H-Slash though. Gen 7 had 150, but now it's 140. And also notable sets for H-Slash are, I've seen special attacking ones with like Flash Cannon, I've seen Shadow Ball, Weakness Policy, stuff like that you could run. With max HP, with max special attack. Quiet Nature is really good, so you can still run physical attacks and be slower than other H-Slashes. That's pretty nice as well. You can run King Shield on it for nice mind games and getting back your defenses. And run Close Combat. You can run Shadow Sneak on this instead of Flash Cannon. Perfect coverage with this, I think. I've ran this set a lot. But I think the Focus Sash mon is good too. Also, I've seen like substitute leftovers as well with max speed, so you can sub on mons. Something like this. Maybe max special attack, max speed. It's good for with Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon, Shadow Ball, perfect coverage with King Shield. This is a really good set as well. I like this set a lot. Why is it 0 IVs? I don't know. But yeah, that's a nice set. Next up is standard set for Galarian Corsola, Wisp, Stern Sap, Stealth Rock, Nightshade, max HP, max defense. Take on all those physical attackers for days. Curse Body is really good. 30% chance to make a move disabled. Violate for Galarian Corsola, so your Spadef and defense are really, really strong. Doubles them pretty much, almost. Even more than that probably. I think it's more than 50%. So yeah, really good mon. Galarian Corsola, Violate. You've probably seen it a lot. I personally never really ran it though, because I don't know, it's a little more stally on my side. I mean, I don't hate stall or anything. I mean, I ran stall before. Me personally wouldn't run it because it's not entertaining to watch, and I stream a lot. So, but if you probably want to get those nice wins, it's really nice and annoying for opponents. Snorlax, really good mon. Snorlax has a lot of sets you can run, so here's some notable sets you can run with Snorlax. There's a Yawn set I've seen with the Hypapa Recycle, Gluttony for activating the berry as early as possible when you're at 50% or less HP. They did nerf Pinch Berries though this gen to 33%, used to be 50% in Gen 7, but it's still really, really good because Snorlax is a bulky monster. You want as much defense on Snorlax as possible because that's the worst stat it has for its bulky set. So that's why Impish Nature max defense is really, really good because it already has enough HP, 160 base HP, 110 Spadef. All you really need is to max out that defense so you can take hits for days. Earthquake, nice coverage with Body Slam. Body Slam for paralyzing, mons that are already yawned, I guess, or you can't yawn. And just good stab damage as well. And you could also run Curse on this set as well if you want to. Sylveon is a really nice Pokemon to run with Spadef, max HP, max special defense. There's also more offensive Sylveon sets like Calm Mind I've seen. I've ran like a plus 144 defense for when you Dynamax with Modest Nature. So when you Dynamax, you can easily take Mimikyu hits, and Galarian Darmanitan you don't get 2 KO'd. And I've ran Pixie Plate on this as well for the extra chip on damage. I've ran Quick Attack for the Focus Sashers as well, extra chip. If you know you're going to die, you can get that extra quick attack off, maybe do good damage to Dragapult and dragon types in general. I ran Substitute on this for like Grimmsnarl leads and Yawn Mons. You can sub on them and predict that. Sylveon can do a lot of things, but probably the most stally set would be max HP, max Spadef set with like Calm Nature, so you can utterly wall every special attacker as long as they're not nasty plotting versus you. and it goes through Substitute, which is really good for Sylveon. Hyper Voice, sound-based move. And it's boosted by Pixelate. Pixelate turns normal moves into fairy moves, so really good. Because I see a lot of people question how do normal moves hit ghost types and stuff like that. So there you go. And then there's also some other sets with Snorlax. There's Belly Drum with Gluttony. You can run Adamant Nature with this, and a little bit of Spadef, a lot of defense, and a lot of HP. Just maximize that bulk, put Adamant Nature for that nice power, and then perfect coverage with Earthquake, Fire Punch, and Double Edge. You could also run like Body Slam. I've seen they took off Return to Frustration, so you can't really run that on Snorlax. So yeah. And then there's also Curse with Eye Pop as well. Instead, if you don't want that immediate Belly Drum, because it could be risky. But if you want to go for the slow route with Curse and recycle Facade and Fire Punch, because Facade is good if you get statused. Because most of the time, if you run a Curse, you're probably going to get statused. But you could also run Chesto Berry, Resto Chesto, I've seen. Maybe Thick Fat on this instead of Gluttony. And I've seen like, don't take off Curse, you can take off Recycle, Rest, and you can run something like this with like Double Edge, I've seen, or Body Slam. Could be good. It's going to be really good for the G-Max Snorlax, because G-Max, it can get the berry back after you use Chesto Berry with a G-Max Replenish or something like that. And then the last batch of mons I'm going to show you, I could probably make a part 2 for a lot more Pokemon sets, because I think I know all the sets with these guys. So I could make a part 2 if you guys want me to. Leave it down in the comments if you want me to. This is a nice set that I ran with the Solvest Gashon, one of my favorite sets. Got to top 3 with this set, one of the best mons I think. Gashon in the Gen 8 meta, because there's a lot of offensive water types that you just want to just absorb that water and raise your special attack, and it draws in water moves as well. That's why it's really good in doubles, but it's also really good in singles. Sylvest is my favorite set to run because it's really offensive and defensive at the same time. For special attackers, Clear Smog, when you D-Max, you get that plus special attack raise with Max Ooze. Ice Beam is good for dragons, Scald is good for burning, and also getting Max Geyser, Earth Power for those steel types. And just lowering special defense as well versus like Quagsire, Toxapex is really good to 1-hit KO because they're usually always max defense. But you could run into a Spadef set and they could live +1 Earth Power, so you gotta be careful with that. Clear Smog is getting rid of stat boosts from like Greedent. I've ran into Belly Drum Greedent, Belly Drum Snorlax, Mimikyu Swords Dance. You break the skies. They usually always Swords Dance versus Gashadon. So yeah, really good mon. Just a good thing to have. It means Dragovish's fishiest friend because that's everywhere as well. Gyarados is Waterfall, but you gotta be careful of Power Whip and Grass coverage, because Duraludon I've seen Solar Beam, I've seen Power Whip, Seismitoad I've seen Power Whip, Gyarados, so you gotta be careful of grass moves, always. And of the occasional, I guess, Wood Hammer Mimikyu, but that's very rare. Like once in a lifetime you can run to that, unless you're very unlucky. Also, there's another Gashon set you can run with Leftovers and Recover. Yawn is really annoying. I think I more see people use this set than the Solvest one. This is kind of like a niche set that I like to run because a lot of people don't expect it, and I like to run sets that people don't expect, so that they don't really know what to do versus it, because maybe they'll make a bad play versus a set they don't expect. So that's why I always like to run like anti-meta mons as well, because if you run things, because Pokemon's a knowledge game, if you run things that everybody knows, then they're just going to know what to do versus you, and then you just gotta hope and pray that like they misplay or you can predict them as well. Sometimes you like to surprise them though with anti-meta things. So yeah, Leftovers is really good on Gashon. You can run Rindo Berry as well. I've seen for those grass moves, so you can always live a hit from a grass move since you're 4 times weak to grass. Yawn is good for putting things to sleep, Recover for that nice longevity. I've also seen instead of Spadef, you can run defense, so you can take on a lot more physical attackers as well. Gyarados, stuff like that. You can run instead of Ice Beam Scald, or instead of Earth Power, you can run Scald as well. But Ice and Ground have perfect coverage, so. Then there's also Charizard. You can run a multitude set of Charizard. I've seen a Soul Vest, I've seen Expert Belt, I've seen Life Orb, a lot of sets. I've seen Dragon Pulse on this for those dragon types. You can do good damage with that as well. Focus Blast is just good to hit T-Tar. Solar Beam is good for those water and ground types. Gashadon, Quagsire, all that. Air Slash, Max Airstream, Razor Speed is essential for Charizard. Solar Power is really good when you get that Max Flare, Sun Up, so you really just power through teams. Really good Charizard Breaker set. I love it a lot. Charizard was one of my favorite mons to run in 3v3 because it's such a scary mon to run into, because when you Max Flare, there's nothing that can really take a hit from Charizard with Solar Power, because it boosts its special attack when it's in the sun by 50%. But you do take damage every turn when you're in the sun with Solar Power, so you gotta be careful of that. And also, I think you can't run Solar Power in VGC, so you have to run Blaze. But this is just for 3v3, not VGC. So then there's also this nice niche set with Belly Drum, Substitute, Fire Punch, and Earthquake with Blackberry. Really nice set for baiting special defensive mons. You can substitute on a lot of bulky mons as well, and maybe predict switch-ins as well, because I actually swept teams with this set. You can run, like, I've seen acrobatics on this set as well, instead of like Earthquake, Fire Punch, so you can have nice stab. But Earthquake is nice for T-Tar, and just synergizes well with Fire Punch. Like, it has good coverage versus everything. You could also run Thunder Punch as well, seen. Thunder Punch is nice with Earthquake. Hits Gyarados, hits Rotom washes as well, but I feel like Stab, Fire Punch can do a lot. And also, a lot of Rotoms don't really run max HP, max defense, so when you're at +6, you can just max Flare and just kill them most of the time. Because most Rotoms are just going to be like max HP, not max defense, max HP. Then there's also Focus Sash Cloyster with probably the standard set that they run. It was Shell Smash, Ice Skill, Spear, Rock Blast, and Ice Shard. Ice Shard for a nice priority, comes in handy all the time. I think Ice Shard is a necessity on Cloyster, because sometimes you want to Ice Shard chip a lot of mons, and you need it. And sometimes people save Cloyster in the back for the Ice Shard, because there's a lot of things that are weak to Ice. Ice Skill, Spear, and Rock Blast good for Skill Link, because you always hit 5 times. And Shell Smash for just, you know, always getting that +2 attack and +2 speed with Focus Sash, unless you run to another Cloyster. But that's why I think Jolly Nature is good, so you can outspeed other Cloysters or speed type with them, because sometimes you can run into an adamant one. And then, yeah, also be careful of Cloyster's low special defense, because you're going to take a lot from special attacks. Also, Gash on the Clear Smog is really good versus Cloyster as well, because maybe they Shell Smash versus you just Clear Smog into a KO them. But Cloyster has a lot of defense, so yeah, fitting it with a physical attack is not the best most of the time, unless they Shell Smash. And then last mon for this video will be Dracovish with Choice Scarf. Dracovish can run Choice Scarf. I've seen Choice Band as well for really breaking through with Adamant Nature. That's probably the strongest that you can run if you really just want to break through teams. Is Choice Band, Adamant Nature with Rain, like maybe a Pelipper with Rain, or if you want to run a Rain Dance mon as well. With Rain, Dracovish, Fishish Rend, there is nothing that's going to stop it other than a water immunity. But then, if with a water immunity, sometimes dude, you can just run Crunch or Psychic Fangs and predict it, because Crunch and Psychic Fangs will 2-hit KO Gastrodon. You just gotta be careful of when you Dynamax, you lose a Choice Band, but you can switch up moves, which is nice. Psychic Fangs is also good for getting rid of screens. Crunch is good for lowering defense. If you want that, and Ice Fang, you can run Outrage instead for other Dragon types. But Ice Fang is good for that, you know, Strong Jaw, because Strong Jaw boosts Bite moves by 50%, and Fishious Rend is a Bite move, so. And also doubles power when you go first, so that's why Fishious Rend is amazing. But I think Choice Scarf is probably better than Choice Band, in my opinion, with Adamant Nature or Jolly Nature. So you can outspeed a lot of more mons, like Mimikyu and all that, Excadrill, stuff like that, in my personal opinion. I don't think you outspeed Dragapult yet, though, which is unfortunate, because Dragapult's still faster than you. But you could Dynamax and, you know, hit it with a Max Fang, or, you know, Max Hailstorm, I mean, or Max Wormwind with Outrage. So, yeah. That's going to be it for, I guess, the sets for the top mons you can run in 3v3. Let me know what you guys think about this. I kind of just, like, went through it really quickly, because there's a lot of Pokemon, and I still took, like, over an hour for doing this. But, yeah, really fun to teach you guys, and hopefully you learned something from this and helped you with team building. Like I said, there's a lot more sets in Pokemon that I could give sets for. I probably know, like, all these sets, because I've, you know, played a lot of Pokemon. And got to rank 3 in Battle Stadium in the ranked format. So, yeah, I've seen a lot. I went to the war. And, yeah, that's going to be it. Just let me know. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, do your thing. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Link is in the description down below. Join my Discord, which is linked in the description down below. If you want to do, like, OU or Mom-type battle or UU battle on Wi-Fi, that'd be awesome. Hit me up on Discord. And, yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Peace.